being 6:30, I'll convene the, the August 10th meeting of the Falmouth Zoning Board of Appeals. My name is Ken Foreman, I'm the chair. And I'll just explain the process for anyone who is uninitiated. And the first thing I'll ask is everyone please turn off your cell phones so we don't get interrupted in the middle of the meeting. So I'll introduce the board. Jerry Patamas, who is an associate member of the board. P.J. Hurry is vice chair of the board. Paul Murphy, who's a voting member and will be the acting clerk of the board tonight. Ed Van Kuren, also a voting member, and then Robert Dugan, who's an associate member. And also present is Sari Boudreau, who's our zoning administrator, and Andrade Geishecker, who's the recording secretary. So the Zoning Board of Appeals is charged with applying the zoning bylaws for the town and considering requests for special permits, variances, and appeals as provided by those bylaws, which have been approved by town meeting and the Attorney General's office. And so our decisions are made through a public hearing process. The goal, of course, is to hear testimony from the applicants and allow full and fair discussion of any project or appeal prior to rendering a decision. To begin each hearing, we'll ask the clerk, who in this tonight will be Paul, as I said, to read an announcement, a formal announcement of the hearing, and then present any pertinent information from the file, letters in favor or opposed, and referrals from town departments. Then the applicant or the applicant's representative will have up to 15 minutes to make a presentation to the board. If more time is needed, you can ask for that, and by vote of the board, we can grant it. I don't think anything tonight is going to require much more than 15 minutes. Then the board will question the applicant, and then we'll open it up for public comment, asking for either questions or comments in favor or opposed. If the board feels they have enough information, we'll close the hearing, have board discussion, and vote. All of these projects require a vote of 4-1, a supermajority, in order to be approved. If we feel there's additional information hearing required, we can continue the hearing to a date certain in the future. I would ask, if you want to speak, that you wait to be recognized by the chair. Speak to the board, not to others out in the public there, and go to the podium and state your name for the record. There's a microphone up there. That microphone records you for the TV, which, you know, we're on Falmouth TV, so it could be a celebrity. It does not amplify for the room, so speak clearly and loudly. So it looks like the representative for the first applicant hearing tonight is here.
Is not here.
Is not here? Is
Tom
Kevin,
Bunker.
are you doing Lewis?
Yes.
Oh, that's right, we got a letter. I apologize.
Yeah. So the first hearing is 053-17, Lewis, 56
Oh, so he's-
Hamlin Avenue, Falmouth, and I'll ask the clerk to read the announcement.
Being all persons deemed affected by the Board of Appeals under Section 11 of Chapter 48 of the Massachusetts General Laws, you are hereby notified that Thornton Lewis of Falmouth, Mass. applied to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a special permit pursuant to Sections 240-3C, 240-68D, and 240-69E of the Code of Falmouth to raise and reconstruct a pre-existing non-conforming single-family dwelling exceeding 20% lot coverage by structures on subject property known as 56 Hamlin Avenue, Falmouth, Mass. For
Referrals?
referrals, we've got engineering, standard comments. Assessors, no comment. Fire department, no comment. Conservation Commission, notice of intent under review by Concom, closed on 6/14, likely to be voted 6/28. Planning, no comment, and we have 2 letters of support and 1 letter with no concerns.
Mr. Chairman, who's sitting on this hearing?
Okay, thank you for asking. Let's make it Jerry and the voting members. Okay?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, my name is Kevin Clower, and I'm an attorney here in Falmouth. I represent Thornton Lewis, the prospective buyers. Before I start, I do want to submit one additional letter of support, which has been submitted by Barry and Mary Lou O'Neill of Hamlin Avenue.
I'm sorry, what was the last name?
O'Neill.
Okay.
Thank you. As I was saying, I do represent Mr. Lewis, and he is the prospective buyer, 56 Hamlin Avenue. This property is located here in the village on the shores of Weeks Pond on a lot of approximately 8,500 square feet, and it is located in the residential C zoning district. Currently, there's a house with a footprint of about 1,000 square feet, height of 14.5 feet, and it's currently non-conforming as to the rear yard setback being 33 feet where 50 feet is required. This property is under agreement, under a purchase and sale agreement. However, that is contingent upon this application that's before you this evening. I believe Mr. Murphy mentioned the pending Conservation Commission notice of intent that was approved. The order of conditions was submitted to the file late last week. What we have before you tonight is a raise and reconstruct of this existing dwelling. Mr. Lewis and his family currently have a home in the area, but they're seeking one that's a better size and more useful for their family. This proposal does require a special permit under both sections 240-3C and 240-69E. Under 243C, pre-existing non-conforming structures can be changed by special permit, provided they're not substantially more detrimental than what currently exists. The board's asked to consider the standards of 240-216 and whether or not the proposal creates a new dimensional nonconformity, impairs views of vistas, and reasonably conforms to the average dimensions in the neighborhood. What we're proposing actually improves the nonconforming setback from 33 feet to 43 feet, a fairly significant improvement. The house will otherwise conform to front and side yard setbacks. The footprint will be at 23.9% for lot coverage, which is allowed by this board by special permit, and in doing so renders that not a nonconformity. The height will be 28 feet from the existing grade, but 27 feet from the proposed grade, as they are seeking to raise the grade there just a bit. The bedrooms will increase, and they'll increase from 2 to 3. However, the applicant's proposing a new septic system for the property. This otherwise meets the requirements of 243C in that there's no new dimensional nonconformity created. It doesn't impair any views of vistas, and it reasonably conforms to the neighborhood. I'll go on to explain that a little bit under 240-69E, because that section allows this board to grant a special permit for lot coverage exceeding 20% and asks you to consider the size and height of the proposed structure in relation to the average size and height of structures in the neighborhood, the effects of shadows on adjacent properties, the impacts on views and vistas from public ways, and the effects of nitrogen on coastal embayments. Again, what we're proposing is an increase in the ridgeline. However, there is very little impact of shadows on adjacent properties. This property will largely run north to south, and the shadows will fall to the east and west, given the trajectory of the sun, landing on either the street or the pond, for the most part. There's no adverse impact on views and vistas from public ways, and there's no impact on abatements due to nitrogen abatement. There's no nitrogen effect on coastal embayments due to the new system that's being proposed. As to the size of the structure, I used the gross building area that is provided by the town assessor's office. I previously submitted a table with lot size, gross building area, and footprint of the 20 nearest buildings. I actually, in reviewing everything this evening, realized that that should be 19. There was a condo unit that was counted as part of a larger overall, so I did revise those numbers. The average gross building area of those buildings is 3,242 square feet. The average footprint is 1,752 square feet. What we're proposing has a gross building area of 2,256 square feet. The footprint is at 2,029 square feet. The gross building area is substantially less than the average. The footprint, going back to the gross building area is substantially less than the average. 15 of the nearby homes have a larger gross building area. As to footprint, 7 of the 19 nearby homes will likewise have a larger footprint. Of the homes immediately nearby on Hamlin Avenue, there's 14 houses there, 3 of which are 1 story, 11 of which are either 1.5 or 2 stories. This is very much in character with the neighborhood. It is very much in character with the size and scope of buildings in the neighborhood. It's an appropriate size range as you compare that to the size and height of other structures. There's very little effect of shadow. There's no impact on views and vistas. There's no effects of nitrogen. Therefore, this project meets the standards of 240-69E. As I went over previously, it's not substantially more detrimental than what currently exists. It improves the existing nonconformity. It doesn't create a new dimensional nonconformity. There's no adverse effects, and it meets the standards of 240-216. Therefore, it also meets the standards of 240-3C. For these reasons, I believe that this property should be granted a special permit by this board. I'd be glad to address any questions you might have, and I thank you for your time and consideration.
Okay. Let's see if the board has any questions. Robert?
Yeah, Kevin, on the plan, there's a shed that's closest to the house that shows that it's kind of bisected by the lot line.
Yes.
Who owns that shed? Is it this property or?
So that shed does convey with this property. I believe the intent is not to have the shed remain. There is a bit of a question as to that triangular portion of land. I have not run the title examination. It appears that it may be a bit of a gore. I don't know with certainty at this point. I did speak to the attorney who's handling the purchase, and it was unclear to her as to who the owner of that triangular portion of land was. But my understanding is that the shed is intended to be removed.
Okay, that's the other question I have right now.
I don't have any questions.
PJ, anything?
Sure. Attorney Clower, with the proposed basement, shows basement utility and then the garage slab. Within the basement portion, I suppose, is it going to be unfinished, or what's the status of that?
Is unfinished? That will be unfinished.
Okay.
Rather not restricted to have to be unfinished. That being said, I think they'd be amenable to a condition for no bedroom.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Jerry?
No questions.
Let's see, a couple things I noticed. There's some pretty significant trees, it looks like, that are going to have to come down. Is that any?
I mean, there is mitigation planting being done through the Conservation Commission. There was a notice of intent that was filed, and this was approved by the Conservation Commission. So to the extent that trees fall within that area, they are being replenished in some way, shape, or form.
Okay. And you, am I correct in thinking you also applied under 69, let's see, blah, 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 68D?
The application was under that. I did not submit the application, and I believe that was done in error. So I think that the applicable sections are 240-3C
Okay.
and 240-69E.
Let's see if there's anything else. Gross floor area, I just was wondering how you define gross floor area.
I asked the architect. I defer to those smarter than I. Gross floor area to me means space inside the walls. I asked the architect to define the total square footage of the house, and that's the figure he provided to us.
Okay, so that's basically the total square footage of the house.
And I did, I don't know how the town calculates their gross building area.
Yeah. All right. Sri, anything?
I believe they may have applied under 240-68D because of the proximity of the structure to Weeks Pond.
Right.
Was that the non, I was looking at that as a 243, so.
No, it would have to, because they're not,
Okay.
it's also noted, just so we can make a
Then
finding.
we'll keep that. Let's keep it then.
Just so we can make a finding on it that it's not more non-conforming.
Okay, so with respect to the 4-foot contour,
Well, it's unclear if it's the 4 foot. I mean, it's not really marked well that I can see. It appears to be a 4-foot. And I've got to look to see if that falls under the 4-foot or the 3-foot Weeks Pond.
I think it's the edge of the pond when it's,
Yeah, I think it,
But
either way, it's
you're-
non-conforming, requires 50-foot, but
Right,
it's
you-
pre-existing.
Right, and they're going from 33 feet
To
to
43.
43 feet, correct?
That's the improvement,
Correct.
yes.
Okay. If there's no other questions from the board, let's see if anyone in the public wants to make a comment. No? All right, does the board have enough information?
We do.
Motion to close.
Okay, Ed moves to close, Paul seconds, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And how about a motion with respect to the status of the project?
I'll make a motion to approve.
One second.
Okay, Jerry to approve, TJ seconds. Findings?
It satisfies 240-3C. It's not substantially more detrimental. Based on testimony, it satisfies 240-69E in everything it says there. Do I have to repeat it, or is there reference? Okay. It is less non-conforming in that, was it the front setback of I can't write as fast as you talk, 33?
That's
240
the setback from the pond.
From the pond is
Right, so that's under-
increasing.
Yeah. That's increasing.
Becoming
Bedrooms
less
are
non-conforming.
increasing. That's a finding, I think.
Yep.
No bedroom in the basement. They said they were amenable to that. And I guess we'll find that the basement currently is unfinished. That the shed would be removed?
If it's on their property? I don't mean it.
I think that's a fair question. My understanding is that it's to be removed, but if it's not on their property, it wouldn't count towards their lot coverage.
That little, yeah.
So you want me to craft that as shed to be removed if found to be property of subject property, something like that?
Something like that.
All right,
Does that seem
I'll
reasonable?
work it up.
I can talk with Suri about that and work on the language.
Okay. But I guess I mean, we're at the finding stage here, so.
Right.
Another finding pertains to the abandonment of the cesspool, I guess, and the addition of a modern Title V system, huh? And I'm thinking the front yard, no, that's, the only setback improving is the pond setback, correct? Okay.
And 242.16?
Yeah. All right, so now, Jerry, conditions?
Conditions. If they own the land where the shed's upon, they have to remove it. No bedrooms in the basement. Submit plans. Or do we need to submit plans? Bill, as referenced in the application and the plan submitted.
Just per plans, you
As
mean?
per-
Per plan,
And no bedrooms in basement, you said?
yes.
Okay. That's it.
Anything else? Okay. Ready to vote?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries, project's approved. Release from zoning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Mr. Chair, Attorney Duffy is here.
Okay, I see that town attorney has arrived, so there is one other item on the agenda tonight, which is executive session to discuss litigation. And if we go into executive session, then I'll ask that everyone leave until we're done, and then we will reconvene for the rest of the public hearings. So I could entertain a motion, please, for executive session.
No, excuse me. You entertain a motion to go into open meeting in order to convene into
All right,
executive.
yeah, so first
Thank you.
we need to go into open meeting so we can then vote. So,
Are we not in open meeting?
no, we're in the hearings.
No, we're in public
Oh,
hearings.
okay, all right, I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make the motion, I guess, to take the open meeting item out of order, or to enter into open meeting.
Okay, is there a second? Second?
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now you may make the motion to go into executive session.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make the motion to enter into executive session pursuant to Chapter 30A, Section 21A3 of the Open Meeting Law to discuss litigation regarding comprehensive permit number 117-16, Falmouth Hospitality LLC, Liberty Green 40B, 556 Main Street, Falmouth, and then to reconvene into public hearings.
Okay, that's been moved. That's a roll call vote, yes?
Who did the second on that?
I haven't heard a second yet.
I'll second.
You did.
Jerry seconds?
No, maybe.
I got it.
Okay, and then it's a roll call vote, so why don't we start?
Aye.
You gotta state your name.
Gerald Patamas.
Okay.
Terrence Hurry, aye.
Ken Forman, aye?
Paul Murphy, aye.
Ed Van Kuren, aye.
Okay. And, okay, and Robert's recusing, so he's out of here too.
Guard that door.
The next public hearing is 054-17 Florence, 248 North Falmouth Highway.
Being all persons deemed affected by the Board of Appeals under Section 11 of Chapter 48 of the Massachusetts General Laws, you're hereby notified that Kathleen M. Florence of North Falmouth, Mass. applied to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a special permit pursuant to Sections 240-23B and 240-3C of the Code of Falmouth to convert the existing single-family dwelling into two dwelling units on subject property known as 248 North Falmouth Highway, North Falmouth, Mass.
Okay, and Robert will be sitting on this one.
Department comments, Concom, no comment. Engineering standard comments, no comments from the assessors. Historical Commission, any exterior changes need to come before the Historical Commission. Planning, no comment. Health, per Board of Health, this conversion would require a septic system to include a two-compartment septic tank and an alternative technology system to the property being located on, being that the property is located in the Coastal Pond Overlay District, and
That's followed by a letter that says, nope, they don't need to do that.
Right.
right,
There's an email in there from the Board of Health.
all right, and no letters on this. Are there?
Okay,
No, I don't see
Just
any.
that from the Board of Health correcting there.
Gotcha.
all right, and then for the applicant, it looks like we have Attorney Ahmed.
This is plans for you.
Thank you, Mr. Foreman. Members of the board, I'm Bob Ahmed. I'm a Falmouth attorney, and I represent the applicant, Kathleen Florence, who's been a Falmouth resident since the mid-1980s and has had a home occupation, speech therapy business at the subject property at 248 North Falmouth Highway since 1993. And that year, she bought the property and she converted what was a two-family house at that time and had been since the 1970s, restoring the older part of the house built around 1890 to her residence, and using the wing of the house built sometime before 1950 as an antique shop. But she used it as her speech therapy studio. And she saw as many as a dozen or more patients a day there between about 1993 and this past year. So now Kathleen wants to restore the wing of the house that's been used as an office into a dwelling unit as it used to be. The zoning bylaw provides in section 24023B that for a dwelling that was in existence on January 1, 1980, the Board of Appeals can grant a special permit to allow the conversion of the dwelling into 2 or more dwelling units. On a lot of 21,200 square feet like Kathleen has, the zoning bylaw allows her to have up to 3 dwelling units by that special permit. She's asking for 2, like there used to be. And there are some requirements in the zoning bylaw that there be no home occupations or taking up boarders. She won't be doing either of those things, closing her home occupation business. And that the number of bedrooms allowed in the house be not more than there were in January 1, 1980, which is the case. There will be 5 bedrooms. Kathleen alone is going to live in the 1.5-story portion of the house. There are 2 bedrooms on the second floor. There are 2 rooms that can be used as bedrooms proposed on the first floor. And then there'll be a 1-bedroom apartment in the rest of the wing off to the northeast side of the house. The conversion does not involve any change to the exterior of the house, another requirement of the bylaw. And those are all the requirements of the bylaw particular to that section. If you were to turn to section 24216, which lists the requirements for a special permit generally, that calls for you to consider whether there are any adverse impacts from the conversion that would overbalance the benefits to the neighborhood or the town. And you'd consider the adequacy of the size of the lot. We meet that zoning bylaw requirement. The lot coverage is less than 20%. There'd be no increase. The suitability of the site for the proposed use, well, it's on a main road and it's been used as an apartment in the past and then for home occupation for the last 24 years. We have to address impact on traffic flow and safety, and among the photos that I submitted to you, I submitted a package of photos showing all of the rooms in the house, exterior views, and then views to the north and the south on 28A. There's adequate visibility in both directions, and actually the number of trips per day associated with an accessory apartment, or rather a second dwelling unit that would be used as a 1-bedroom apartment, there are fewer traffic trips than when Kathleen was operating her home occupation business. You're supposed to consider the adequacy of sewage disposal, and you have the letter from the health department that corrects their initial referral, telling you that the septic system is adequate. We actually went to the health agent and met with both David Carradine and Mallory, his assistant, back in the fall of last year to make sure that the septic system was adequate, and got his approval at the time, and we reminded them of that in connection with this application. So the specific requirements of section 24023B and of the requirements of 24216 are met. I'm sure because you're always diligent that you or most of you have been to the site. And it simply is a perfect use of the building. And again, a use that is not a new use. There's adequate parking spaces both to the side of the house and at a garage in the rear of the property, so that's not a problem. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. I don't think I need to go into more detail, but I'm prepared to, I think, discuss anything you'd like.
Okay, let's see if there's any questions from the board. Jerry, anything?
No question.
TJ?
Attorney Elman, just to clarify, bids in existence on January 1, 1980, there were 5?
Yes, you know, it's been a pretty long time since 1980 at this point, 37 years. And the proof in these cases is going to get harder and harder. Sometimes you get lucky. In this case, we were very lucky. We've submitted a couple of affidavits. One is from June Green, who lives 2 doors up from Kathleen on the North Falmouth Highway. Her in-laws owned Kathleen's house for decades until they sold it in 1976 to a couple people named Haystay. And we know that Haystay was the one who converted the antique store to the apartments. And one reason we know that, not only did June Green know that they were the ones who created the apartment, but Eddie Roskovics, who lives at 233 North Falmouth Highway, diagonally across the street, lived there even back then. His grandparents owned property in the neighborhood. He's now about 80 years old, and I met with him. Eddie used to install septic systems. He installed the septic system for the Haystays when they created the apartment as soon as they moved into the property, and we know that date because it's at the Registry of Deeds, 1976. In his affidavit, Eddie explains that there's a 5-bedroom septic system is what he installed, which the Board of Health agrees with, because that was the number of bedrooms in the house at the time. June Green's affidavit says that when they visited the house, there were 4 bedrooms in the 1.5-story portion of the house, 4 rooms used as bedrooms when they visited. And then there was the antique store, later converted to an apartment. When Kathleen first saw the property in 1993, and when there was a family living in the apartment using 2 of those rooms as bedrooms. Anyway, we have a lot of information that should make it easy for you to find that in this house that has 10 rooms in it, 5 of them could be used as bedrooms.
Well, it's like you said, and it's getting harder to meet that standard of 1980, so
Yeah.
it's nice to see that so many people around were able to help you out. And, let's see, I think it's obvious with the plans, but there's no increase in the gross floor area as of that date?
Sure.
All right, that does it for me, thank you.
Paul?
I have no questions.
I have no questions.
No questions?
Okay. So interior, my only question is, is it what's called the library study here? Is that where there'll be a wall built or something?
Correct. What is now a door from that room into a bathroom. I might have that wrong. Is there a door from the study into the bathroom? There are 2 doors to the bathroom. One, right.
There used to be a wall where there was a door that used to go into the room that I used as a waiting room.
Right.
Okay.
Anyway, the doors that presently allow access into the rest of what was the speech and therapy home occupation area, that will be not just the door closed, that's going to be sheetrocked and soundproofed.
Okay. Let's see if anybody in the public wants to comment on this one. Anyone? No? Okay, once again, does the board have adequate information?
Think so.
I think we do.
Okay, someone like to move to close?
I'll make a motion to close.
Second.
Okay, so Ed and Paul move to close, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and then, TJ, you want to make a motion in favor?
I'll make a motion in favor of approving the application.
Second.
Okay, and I noticed you're taking good notes, so.
I try. Can make a finding under 240, 216 that everything's satisfied. Under 240-23B, we don't get these all the time. Sari, what's the best way of organizing this?
It meets the criteria as the board has sufficient evidence that it does have 5 bedrooms as of January 1, 19.
Sure, given the
81.
affidavits and
Yeah,
the
there's,
testimony
I think,
tonight.
Right.
2 or 3 affidavits in the
Right.
file.
Right. I think
Okay,
it's also worth noting is that the septics, I know there was some back and forth with BOH on that, but the septics,
Right,
fine.
that definitely needs to be a finding.
and no change to the exterior
Mhm.
by testimony. Okay, and then, any conditions?
Per plans, I suppose. And then,
No increase in the number of bedrooms?
yeah, no increase in the beds. And 240-23B, that explains no home occupation, no taking of boarders.
That would have to be conditions, yes.
Okay.
Okay. So, are we?
And, excuse me, I apologize.
No.
It should be a finding in the beginning that Attorney Ahmet did state that there will no longer be a home occupation.
Right. Okay, anything else, Sari? That was what I was about to say.
I apologize.
Okay, are we ready to vote then?
Yeah.
So, that was moved, who seconded?
I think I did.
Okay,
Yes, Paul Murphy did.
all in favor?
Aye.
Project approved.
Enjoy your two-family.
And that brings us to the last public hearing of the evening, which is 055-17 Gifford Street, Gifford, 45 Quistit Avenue.
Being all persons deemed affected by the Board of Appeals under Section 11 of Chapter 48 of the Massachusetts General Laws, you're hereby notified that Ann Gifford Morris of Woods Hole, Mass. applied to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a special permit pursuant to Sections 240-3C and 240-68B of the Code of Falmouth to construct an addition that will increase existing kitchen and create habitable space within the pre-existing non-conforming single-family dwelling on subject property known as 45 Quistit Ave, Woods Hole, Massachusetts. For board department comments, Conservation Commission notice of intent filing shall be heard by Concom on 8/2/17. Assessors, no comment. Engineering, standard comments. Planning, no comment. Fire Department, no comment. And no letters related to this application.
Okay.
And who's sitting on the board, Chairman?
And that'll be Jerry. And then Tom Bunker, looks like he's here for this.
Thank you. For the record, we have this plan for Bob and Ann Morris, so Gifford House, been in the family for generations. Sean Bissonette designed, drew the house plans. What I have up here is one photo taken last winter when we were surveying, and then three, there's a computer renderings up on the board. I have our site plan here. This property is just at the south end of the Woods Hole Golf Club. So this whole property up here, there's a tee right here, and there's a net up there to catch the balls so they don't go into the house. So all the land to the north of this property is vacant. There is a small wetland, isolated wetland, a little pool property, and that's why we're going to conservation. We had planned on filing to be heard, I think, on what they say, the 2nd, but we couldn't do that. I had a family obligation. We're going to heard next Wednesday, the 16th, I believe it is. Property is 16,899 square feet of upland. The house conforms to most of the zoning criteria, being the front yard setback, 89 feet. One side 28 feet on the garage side. The rear setback is 82 feet to the back line by the pond. The coverage is 6.6% by the structure and 16.9% by structure, paving, and parking. So all of those conform. I point out the house is only 28 feet tall, 28.9 feet tall, so it conforms with the height also. It's non-conforming in the one respect to this side yard setback, which is 4.6 feet, rather than the required 10 feet. Otherwise, I pointed out it's adjacent to, I don't know how many acres of open space. The owners want to add an addition right here, 12 by 12 and a half feet. That's 150 square feet, and the little deck on the outside, around in one corner of it for access. The elevations we have here. So in the front elevation, as you can see from the pictures and on the top left and top right, the roof will be raised about 5 feet because that room presently above the kitchen, the second floor, is just up in the crawl space or the attic space. So that, from the street, you'll see that roof being raised and a dormer added. From the garage side, this is the roof that's being lifted up about 5 feet here, and then this much is being added. That's the 12 feet going that way. That's the garage. This will not be a garage door here. It will be storage, garden supplies, lawnmower, that type of thing. Not a bedroom. In this location here, the first floor is an expansion of the kitchen and a new entry. See in this location on the plans, this is just the kitchen getting bigger, and the door will be moved. Presently is on this end right here. The door will be moved to this location right here, and bench and coat hooks, whatever, in the mudroom. Above that, the second floor, currently, you see on the existing conditions plan, is just the roof. It's going to be raised up. So that's going to be the new master bedroom here. The existing bedroom, which goes front to back in the house, will be split up by a hallway going through to the new master bedroom, an office space, which has a large, wide cased opening here, 6 feet. I think it says 6, 5 feet, 5-foot cased opening there. Here, 5-foot cased opening and a laundry room in this location. So it will still have 3 bedrooms that we have now. So there's no increase in bedrooms in this proposal. And the bottom floor, just a new basement, will have a door accessing the outside. As you can see on the elevations, we'll have that double door there. A new French door entering the dining room of the house here. And there's also a door entering the kitchen, this location. So from the street, as I said, all you'll see is the slightly taller roof on that one part, not on the whole house, and a dormer. From the side, it will be about 12 feet longer. This is entirely within just some lawn and small garden area. There are presently some stone steps going from the driveway level up to there. Those steps will be partly taken apart and then rebuilt to their present configuration. So it's all tightly held within existing developed area. The roof height, that part being lifted up, will still be lower than the existing roof height of the main house. And so the criteria, so the adequacy of the site in terms of the size for the proposed use, as I mentioned, well, I didn't go over the proposed coverage will be.
Yeah, you mentioned that.
Did I mention the proposed? I'll go over 7.7% proposed by structures, which is less than half what's allowed. 16.96 by structures, paving, and parking, which is less than half of what's allowed. So the site is large enough for that. Suitability of the site, it's already suitable for as a residential use. This is just a slight expansion, larger kitchen, larger bedroom, adding an office room, but no increase in bedrooms. So there'll be no impact in traffic flow and safety because there's no additional bedrooms, no more traffic going in or out. Impact on the visual character, views and vistas, barely noticeable from Quistit Ave. The kids at the Woods Hole Play School in the rear will get to see a little bit larger kitchen, but there'll still be a good view of a kitchen. Sewage disposal, the same, because no increase in bedrooms. Town water, drainage, we've added dry wells around the side of the house and on the garage side to reduce the stormwater runoff from the flow. And we believe the utilities and other public services are quite adequate for this site. We'll have no negative impact on the neighborhood or the site or the wetland in the back. Take any questions.
Good, let's see if there's questions. Robert, you want to start?
No questions.
No questions?
No questions.
TJ?
No questions.
No questions.
Yeah, I have just one or two.
Almost, Tom.
One or two.
Always had a
Brief.
strike there.
They really don't have to do with what you, anything except the CONSCOM. I presume you're going to the CONSCOM because of the vernal pool, is that? Or why
Yeah.
are you going to CONSCOM?
Well, because we're within 100 feet of a wetland.
Yeah,
And whether it's a vernal pool or some other type of wetland, but we have to file a notice of intent because of that, yes.
okay. And so when you're done with this, you're gonna be, how many feet away from that?
59 feet.
Right. I could ask you to divine what, are they gonna ask you to do anything?
Want me to opine on how quickly it'll be approved? I can tell you that I met with Jen out there, and of course, driving up and with some explanation, she was hesitant, but then looking at the site being up on the hill, away, separated by the retaining wall and the deck and everything else, not as a guarantee that it would be approved, but she said, file it and we'll see.
Right, okay.
I mean, that's, if it's found to be a vernal pool, well, either way, we'll get if we need to, we'll get a variance, but it's going to be presented as the habitat, because of all the invasive species down there, it will be improved by all the native planting and removal of invasive species. And I and Mark Manganello from LEC have been out there, through the spring, and we saw no evidence, but did not do a thorough vernal pool examination. There is a report done, I think it was in 1991, by Alice and Rob and a couple others, I think, who at that time said they found no evidence that it was a vernal pool.
Okay. 'Cause I think on the plan it was shown as a vernal pool.
Just pool.
Or isolated freshwater wetland.
The other question I had was this, just a curiosity question, but I really admired the stone wall. And you're gonna be able to fit this in and then rebuild that in the same place?
The stone wall along the driveway
Yes.
will not be rebuilt.
Okay.
You see that that part where they have some doors will be
Mhm.
visible, but this wall, the detail in the bottom, the cheek wall down the stairs will be taken apart and then, we hope rebuilt against the foundation, and then just turn the corner and return and leave the room open for the new door coming out at that level.
I guess I can envision that. All right. Good. Well, I think that, Sari, any questions from,
No.
anybody out there have a question? Do we have enough information?
I think so.
All right. Want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to close the hearing.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
And aye. And then, do we want to make a motion with respect to the approval of this special permit?
I'll make a motion to approve the special permit.
Okay, Jerry? Is there a
Second. I'll second.
Seconded by Ed, Jerry and Ed. All right. And then findings?
It meets 240-3C, it's not substantially more detrimental, and it meets 240-16A through F.
Okay.
It has Board of Health approval for the septic disposal.
Okay. And then, any other findings that are relevant that we need to make? I think, the roof height, although it being elevated, will still be below the ridge, highest point of the house. It's worth noting. And we're not creating any new bedroom, right? Are we?
No.
Right.
Right.
Right, we're not creating any new bedrooms, so we're doing an office conversion. And the cased opening, that's 5 feet, I think that's
Right.
a significant finding. All right.
How about conservation, New testimony
Yeah,
that
we-
they've applied for it? And they'll be going to a hearing? And then in a condition, you can make this contingent.
We'll get to that. So how about
I know,
conditions?
just saying.
Jerry?
What
Conditions?
Sari just said,
Well, first of all, you want it as per plan, right?
as per
Yeah.
plan,
Number of bedrooms to remain
3.
3. I think it's probably worth conditioning that cased opening to ensure the office doesn't.
It says per plans, do you want to put a condition in it that it's to remain open, or what?
Yeah, I think that would be good, personally. And then we adopt any conditions imposed by the Conservation Commission.
Do you want to do that, or, okay.
How do you prefer to do it, Sue?
Well, it hasn't been to a hearing, so I would make a condition that it's contingent upon
Yes.
approval by Concom, and that the Board of Appeals adopts those conditions.
That's,
Good
Is that
words.
okay?
Good words.
okay, we got it covered?
I think so.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, carries?
Thank you.
So that brings us back into that concludes the public hearings, and I guess we are back in open meeting portion of the meeting. The first item on the agenda there is the minutes of August 3rd.
I'm sorry.
move to approve.
Also, let's see. This was not signed, so if you could just do a fake sign.
Sure.
You guys did approve it at the last meeting, and there's August 3rd. If you put those on the cart when you're done.
Okay, so we have a motion from Jerry to approve minutes of August 3rd. Has everyone's had a chance to look them over?
Yeah.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm hoping that no one voted who wasn't here. Then there's a
Yeah, Paul
request,
Murphy abstains.
Paul Murphy abstains. So then there's a request for board administrative approval of an prior special permit 65-15 to, this was brought up, I guess, at the prior
I
meeting,
brought
right?
it up, but I did not represent it properly or correctly, as a matter of fact. I did send you Attorney Ahmed's letter today.
Yes.
He is requesting minimum, well, I shouldn't say minimum, that, I don't mean that. He's requesting a 2-year extension for this. You did vote it last week for 1 year.
Yes.
Do you have any questions
So
on the
this was
letter?
determination of buildability?
Yes, under 240-66C. I really believe that this is worthy of getting it a 2-year extension. I know that Attorney Ahmed, and he's here, he can speak to it, but I believe if you just could grant the 2-year extension based on the fact that they need more time to go into building, they've had to pay betterments. He did submit some case law for variances and one for special permit that you did receive as well.
Yeah, I don't see why we wouldn't extend it.
Yeah.
Who
I
cares?
Seems
I
pretty
agree, I think last week we were
I
confused.
I prefer the board not get into the substantial use due to payment of a betterment, because that is, I'd hate to set precedents for the board, and I know it's something that Attorney Ahmed did suggest, but if the board is so willing, just to grant the 2-year extension
Yeah,
based on
I agree with
financial
that.
issues.
I can agree with that, too.
So you want a motion then
Yes,
to that effect?
to amend last week's motion and to agree to a 2-year extension for this application.
I'll make a
Okay, so
For
we
this-
actually had a motion.
for this
on-
decision.
Did we have a motion on the books? last
We
week?
actually approved 1 year, I
You
think.
did a
did, it's in
1
the minutes, that's why I'm asking you.
So we have to amend it to 2-year extension.
Okay, so this is a motion to amend our prior
Last week's decision,
decision.
From 1 year to 2 years.
From 1 year to
From
2
1 year to
years.
2 years, okay, who wants to make that motion?
I thought he just did, didn't
Did you?
I'm
Larry?
an associate, can I make
Do you have to
that
say
type
do the
of?
financial or no?
Yeah, I think you can.
I'll direct
This
you.
is not a public hearing, so he can,
I'll make the motion.
he? No, second
okay.
Who did the second?
Yeah, because some of those, some board members are new based from this.
Jerry
Was it?
and Ed,
Oh, it's.
okay?
I appreciate it, thank you so much.
And then all in favor?
it. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Next, there's a request for a administrative approval of a increased parking at 124 Bernard Street, Keene, which was a special permit issued back in 2000, is that correct, Sari?
Well, the permit was granted in 2000. I talked to some members briefly on this when they came in, but the previous permit did not have any conditions or didn't even speak to the parking issue except to make a finding that they had proposed 130, was it, parking spaces? I can't remember, I
Who is this?
apologize.
This is gonna be the tech part.
What is this
Um,
plot?
So what
So
happened
this
is,
is at
this
the
is
Tech Park. and
Oh,
it's-
Tech Park.
It's the Crab.
Cape Cod Associates.
Horseshoe
Cape Cod
Crab.
Associates
Oh,
of
yeah.
Cape Cod.
Associates of Cape Cod. So what happens if they've had an increase of employees and they need additional parking? So they've submitted plans showing parking on their lot, maintaining the 20-foot wide utility easement. I believe there was on both sides, yes.
I'm just looking to see if it says how many parking spaces.
I think it's in the findings, sorry.
Where was the new park?
While you guys discuss it, I'll look for it. Might be on the-
Okay, this is existing condition. Is this new?
Here, this is two-sided.
This-
Again, what are we being asked?
Oh,
Okay,
that's
so
it.
this
Oh, I'm
special
not-
permit was approved back in 2000.
Over here? Look, it's parking over here.
For the operation.
Yeah, it's all over the place. Parking over here?
Associates of Cape Cod, the reason being they were
Oh,
building a
okay,
building
yeah.
that was greater than 10,000 square feet, right? So they.
135
that
parking
they
spaces.
Required a special permit.
Oh, okay.
Attorney Ellis submitted in his request, which is a detailed,
Holmes and McGrath.
Holmes and McGrath, sorry. Detailed breakdown of how the parking requirement is calculated.
Utility easement.
And it looks like
135 were
they would,
done in 2000.
they have 135. The parking requirement actually would be greater than 220 under the bylaws. They're allowed a 25% reduction
By right.
by right. They are asking to increase to 202. Is that correct? So that's within,
148
I mean,
to
that's
148 to
it's
200.
appropriate.
Yes, 202. I'm sorry, was that directed at me? I apologize.
202 is what they're asking
Yes.
for, to go from 135 to 202.
The
Okay?
the drawing says 148 to 200.
They had to find a,
Not to be a nitpicker, but
no, I'm reading from the
Letter that
From the
Holmes and McGrath.
letter,
oh,
Could we condition it on the letter? I forget whether.
well, if it's more, they can always build, you know,
well, it's actually, if he had the accessible ADA slots, it's 152 to 205.
What's controlling the letter of the plan? I think if you file something in court, it's the plan,
I
isn't it?
think
Well, which one?
whatever the request is.
Yeah.
What's the letter
well, but we
say?
have conflicting
Yeah.
information.
What's the letter say?
202.
The letter says,
The drawing says 205.
So ADA accessible is an additional 5, so there's a total of 205,
I'd approve it.
according to the plan. So do you
Oh,
want to
okay.
approve the
I'd
plan?
make it
Go with the plan.
now let's approve it as per the plan.
Right, yeah,
Okay. Was that a motion?
It
Yes.
could be.
I'll second it. I'll second it.
Okay, Jerry makes it as a motion, Ed seconds it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, you got it. Ready to get that, all that?
You tested me, but I got it.
All right, and then, so that's board administrative approvals, board review, and discussion of procedural rules and policies. I don't think there's anything particularly to talk about there, right? Is there, Suri?
No, nobody's ever submitted anything. I'd like to get the one policy discussed and approved for completion of applications, and,
So
what was the other
that's a
one? I
policy
forgot.
that's been proposed, but we
Yes.
haven't, well, maybe we should recirculate that to the, electronically to the board
Okay.
and make it a specific agenda item.
Yeah, chip away at them one at a time.
And then anything correspondence and board updates?
The board update would be to you guys from me. I sent you an email that came from Brian Curry, the planning board, for next Tuesday night to discuss the bylaw review with attorneys Ritchie and Mitchell, who will be present. And I sent you the draft that Brian Curry sent.
Right. So Jim Fox invited the Board of Appeals to come to this. They'd like some input and feedback. I cannot go Tuesday, but it would be great if at least one of us could
I've heard
go.
from 3 members that will be going.
Okay, great.
Would this be a joint meeting?
It will not, so I need to post a notice.
That it's not
And
a
I will
joint
do
meeting.
that tomorrow. No, because there will possibly be a quorum of the Board of Appeals at a meeting.
Oh, possibly,
No,
okay,
so-
because I don't think I can make it either.
I don't think I'm going.
But I did submit some
But
administrative
so far,
comments.
I will post it just to make sure that.
Yeah, and I'm told that, so, I mean, 3 cents, what's been done so far to everybody, and it
Yeah.
deals, it deals just exclusively with the definitions,
Right.
portions of the bylaw,
Right.
okay? And then any future agenda items? No? Okay,
That's up to you guys, don't look at me.
looking at them. If not, meeting adjourned.
Okay.